Good morning. Welcome to this week's Messiah Minutes. Thank you for joining us. A few announcements before we get started here. Tomorrow night, we have youth. Again, it starts at 6. Please come out, support the youth. Come hang out with us. Thank you for those who have signed up for meals. I know we have the next 4, weeks covered, but we'll need meals after that too once school starts back up. We get more kids in here, so please continue to sign up for that and serve in that way. Thank you for doing that. I want to encourage you also tomorrow. There is no adult midweek service here at the church, but I want to encourage you to go to the Springfield camp meeting that starts at 7. Go down there and worship down there. It'll be a great time to do that. And then this coming Sunday, we have David Lewis coming back to preach for us this Sunday. So please, I hope to see you then. And thank you for all the school supplies. I don't know if you walked in and saw that table, but it was massive, the amount of school supplies we have. So that was just awesome to see our church support such a great need for our community. We also have a couple things coming up. We have a party, the Summer to Remember party, which is at Wren's Pond on, you know what? I forgot the date. 17th, I think. The 17th, Sunday from 4 to 7. And Wren's Pond, the address is on Facebook, but it's on State Route 47. And then the 23rd, we're going to be mulching the church here at 9 a.m. So bring some gloves, bring some rakes, show up and, get dirty. And let's fix this church up, put some mulch down. It'll be a great day to do that and fellowship together. So let's get started here. Last week we talked about being transformed. And to do that, we need to renew our minds. We need to expose the lies that we believe, kind of capture those thoughts and replace them with God's truth. And that's how we get set free from that. We talked about freeing ourselves from strongholds. And I told some stories about from other men about some thoughts that they had as boys that have continued to hold them captive as they became men. And I do apologize. I know I talked about having a women's perspective on the issue. That timing did not work out, but I do promise you that I will have someone come and present a woman's viewpoint on strongholds as soon as I'm able to do that. But let's dive back into the Word. 2 Corinthians 10, 3 through 5. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So today, I want to talk a little bit about how strongholds are built. Unlike real life fortresses, strongholds aren't usually established on purpose. No one just decides one day that they need a stronghold in their life and they start building one. No, they're built slowly in our minds through thoughts that we haven't taken captive. So the way we develop our minds and our filters with information, our responses are kind of shaped by our early input and our early experiences in life. So what we go through and we experience as kids teaches us certain things. And the thought patterns we were exposed to at a young age can create strongholds that we never wanted and didn't intentionally choose. So I want you to talk to somebody maybe who grew up in a home where there was a lot of yelling and screaming and fighting. And they'll tell you over and over again that they promised themselves it was going to be different for them. But they all too often deal with the same conflict in the same way. Or they totally withdraw from it, which can be just as negative in a home. Because our brains are formed mostly during early childhood. It's often this time when strongholds are built and we really have no idea that it's happening. Our thoughts are not just some abstract idea. They actually contribute to our brain structure. So we either actively choose to shape the pathways that are in our brains or we allow them to be shaped by everything except us. Many of our strongholds come from the same neural pathways of repeated thoughts that have formed over time. They've been handed down to us intentionally or not intentionally, but they still have just been formed by repeating the same kind of thought over and over again. So thoughts that are connected to strong emotions have a way of forming lasting patterns in our minds as well. I know lots of people who are working through strongholds established when they've lost a loved one, whether it be a parent, a child, a grandparent, a sibling, or a close friend. Those emotions create thoughts at any age, but even more so at a young age. They start to think that no one will ever understand what they're going through, so they keep it to themselves. Or if they could just be better, if they could just be perfect, then no one would ever leave them again. Strongholds that are built by loneliness and fear are hard to tear down. And have you noticed that we also have this natural instinct to surround ourselves with voices and opinions that reinforce what we already think? We search for information and an explanation that's going to affirm our thoughts rather than challenge them. It's what's called confirmation bias. We want to be right, so we surround ourselves with people who tell us we're right. Here's kind of an example of that. Hope's parents got divorced when she was 10. Her dad had an affair and left her mom for another woman. At that very moment, the thought that all men cheat was planted in Hope. She started to give selective attention to other examples of men that have cheated. And later on in life, Hope gets married. About a year into their marriage, her husband comes home from work and mentions that there's a new coworker and she happens to be a female. Hope becomes upset and starts to look through his phone and starts making hurtful accusations. Because of this, her husband feels distrusted and starts to withdraw emotionally, which Hope sees as further evidence that he's having an affair. You see, Hope has a stronghold of distrust that has been built into her thoughts around a hurt that she experienced as a child. She interprets new experiences by looking for evidence that supports that thought that she already thinks. And unless that stronghold gets torn down, it's going to tear her relationship apart, and more than likely, future relationships. Demolishing strongholds is a critical step in the life of a follower of Jesus Christ. It has to be done. I don't exactly remember where I was or how old I was, or I don't really remember. I remember the picture. I don't remember where I saw it. But I do remember this picture, and it's been vivid in my mind ever since I've seen it. It's this picture of this enormous elephant. I want you to think about this massive bull elephant. It's got huge tusks, giant ears, giant trunk. It's just massive. And around one of the elephant's ankles is tied a little tiny rope. I mean, it was like the size of a shoelace. At the other end of the shoelace, it's tied to this tiny nail that's just sticking in the ground. The picture said, sometimes the thing that is holding you back is just in your head. And that has stuck with me ever since I've seen that. And I'm pretty sure I was a kid when I saw that picture. It's kind of ingrained itself into my thinking. So I want you to start holding your thoughts captive instead of letting them hold you captive. Work on it today. I've been encouraging you to spend time with God. Let Him start to reroute some of your neural pathways that are up here with His truth and with His wisdom. If you have been doing that, you're already traveling down this journey to freedom. Let me just congratulate you. Please keep doing it. That's amazing. I'm proud of you. I'm so glad that you're working on that. You're starting to live in the freedom that Jesus gives. If you haven't, I got to ask, what's holding you back? What's stopping you? What's stopping you from living that way? What's stopping you from using the divine power that Jesus says you get to demolish strongholds? He gives it to you freely. You just have to devote yourself to time with Him and start getting inside your head instead of outside your head and rethinking some things. Because if they're not grounded and rooted in His scripture, then they don't belong. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you again next week. And I just appreciate you all. I hope to see you this week. Love you. Thanks.